Hello, my dear friend. Welcome back to our room. Sit down, relax, and breathe. Today, I want to ask you a very simple question. It is a question that many people hide from. Are you happy with your life? Not your Instagram life, not the life you show to your family, your real life. When the lights are off, when the phone is silent, and when you are alone with your mind. Are you happy? Many people live in a state of waiting. They want to have a perfect life. They say, I want a perfect body. They say, I want a perfect job. And, of course, they say, I want to speak perfect English. But because they want to be perfect, they do nothing. They wait for a perfect day. They wait for perfect confidence. And while they wait, days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years, and life just passes away. Let me tell you a story. It is a story about a young man. His name was Tom. Tom was 24 years old. He was a good person. He was kind, he was smart, and he was very quiet. Tom lived in a big, noisy city, but his life was not big. His life was very small. Tom lived in a small apartment. It had one room. In the room, there was a bed, a wooden table, one chair, and a small window. The window looked at a gray brick wall of another building. Every morning, Tom woke up at 6:30 a.m. He heard the sound of his alarm clock. He did not smile. He did not feel excited about the new day. He felt tired. Tom worked in a quiet office. He was a data assistant. He sat at a computer for 8 hours every day. He looked at numbers. He typed numbers into Excel sheets. He did not talk to many people. His colleagues thought he was just a shy guy. They said, "Oh, that is Tom. He likes to be alone." But they did not know the truth. Tom did not like to be alone. Tom was lonely, and Tom was locked inside a prison. But this prison did not have iron bars. It did not have stone walls. It was a prison inside his own mind. It was a prison made of one word: perfection. Tom had a big secret. He had a dream that made his heart beat fast. He wanted to speak English fluently. For Tom, English was not just a language. It was not just a school subject. English was a door. It was a door to freedom. He wanted to travel to London. He wanted to walk on the streets of New York. He wanted to watch movies without subtitles. He wanted to read beautiful books. Most of all, he wanted to talk to people from different countries. He wanted to feel connected to the world. Every single night, Tom followed the same routine. He came home from his quiet office at 6:30 p.m. He ate a simple dinner alone. Then, he cleared his wooden table. He opened a big, heavy English grammar textbook. He opened a black notebook. He took a blue pen. For 3 hours, Tom studied. He studied very hard. He wrote down grammar rules. He memorized past participle verbs. He learned 50 new vocabulary words every week. Present perfect, past continuous, conditionals. He knew every rule. If you gave Tom a written test, he could score 100%. In his room, when the door was locked, Tom felt like a king of English. He whispered sentences to himself. He read texts aloud. His voice was good. His understanding was deep. But the problem was not his brain. The problem was his fear. Whenever Tom left his apartment, his knowledge became useless. In his mind, there was a dark, heavy wall. It was the fear of making a mistake. It was the fear of looking stupid. Tom told himself a dangerous lie every day. If I make a grammar mistake, people will think I am stupid. If my pronunciation is bad, people will laugh at me. So, I must not speak until my English is absolutely perfect. This lie was a slow poison. It killed his confidence. It made him a ghost in his own life. Let us look at a specific day in Tom's life. It was a rainy Tuesday. Tom was walking home from the subway station. He was wearing a gray jacket, holding an umbrella. The street was busy. People were rushing to their homes. Suddenly, Tom saw two people standing near a bus stop. They looked lost. They were holding a map of the city. They were tourists. One was a tall man with glasses, and the other was a woman with a camera. They looked around, confused. Then, the man saw Tom. The man walked toward Tom. Tom saw him coming. Instantly, Tom's body reacted. His heart began to beat like a drum. His palms became sweaty inside his pockets. His throat became dry, like desert sand. His brain started to scream in panic. Oh no, he is going to talk to you. He is going to ask something in English. What will you say? Your English is not ready. You will forget the words. You will look like an idiot. The tourist smiled politely. He stopped in front of Tom and said, "Excuse me, hello. Sorry to bother you. Do you speak English? We are looking for the National History Museum. Can you tell us how to get there?" Tom stood frozen. He understood every single word. He knew exactly where the museum was. It was only 3 blocks away. He knew the vocabulary. In his head, he could see the directions clearly. Go straight. Turn left at the traffic light. The museum is next to the park. It was simple, but his mouth did not open. The words were trapped behind his teeth. The fear was like a heavy hand holding his throat. He thought, should I say go straight or walk straight? Is it at the traffic light or on the traffic light? What if my pronunciation of museum is wrong? The seconds felt like hours. The tourist's smile began to fade. The tourist looked confused. Tom could not bear the pressure. He looked down at the wet pavement. He shook his head. In a tiny, trembling voice, he said, "I don't know, sorry." Then Tom walked away. He walked very fast. He almost ran. He did not look back. He felt a terrible burning sensation in his chest. It was the feeling of shame. It was the feeling of regret. Tom arrived at his small apartment. He closed the door and turned the lock. He was safe, but he did not feel happy. He threw his umbrella on the floor. He did not turn on the lights. He walked to the window and pressed his forehead against the cold glass. He watched the rain fall on the gray city. He felt like a total failure. He asked himself, why am I like this? I study every day. I know the grammar. Why can't I just speak? Why am I so afraid? He looked at his big English textbook on the table. In that moment, he hated the book. He hated the rules. He felt that all his work was for nothing. But then, the voice of perfection spoke in his mind. It said, "You failed today because you are not ready. You need to study more. You need to know more words. You need to master pronunciation. When your English is 100% perfect, the fear will go away. Then you will be strong." Tom believed that voice. It was a comfortable lie. It gave him an excuse to stay in his comfort zone. He told himself, yes, tomorrow I will study 4 hours. I will not speak to anyone until I am completely ready. Tom did not understand that his comfort zone was actually a grave. It was a place where his potential was dying. He thought he was protecting himself from embarrassment, but he was actually protecting himself from life. He was waiting for a train that would never arrive because the perfect time does not exist. Where did this fear come from? Tom was not born with this fear. When Tom was a little boy, he was not afraid of making mistakes. When he was 3 years old, he tried to walk. He fell down many times. He bumped his head. He laughed. He stood up, and he tried again. He did not feel shame. When he was learning his native language, he said funny, wrong words. His parents laughed, but it was a warm laugh. He kept speaking, and he learned. The change happened later. It happened when Tom went to school. Think about the school system. It is the same in almost every country. You sit in a room with 30 other children. The teacher stands at the blackboard. The teacher gives you a paper with questions. You take a pen. You try your best. But if you make a mistake, what happens? The teacher takes a bright red pen. The teacher draws a big, ugly X over your mistake. The red ink looks like blood on the page. When the teacher gives the paper back, you see your score, 4 out of 10, failed. The teacher looks at you with disappointment. Your classmates look at you and giggle. You feel a cold wave of shame. School teaches us a very dangerous lesson. It teaches us that mistakes are bad. It teaches us that mistakes mean you are stupid, lazy, or wrong. School punishes mistakes and rewards perfection. Tom was a very sensitive boy. He remembered one specific day in his English class when he was 14 years old. The teacher asked him to read a text aloud. Tom stood up. His voice was changing. It was cracked. He read a sentence, and he mispronounced the word comfortable. The teacher stopped him loudly. "No, Tom, that is wrong. How many times do I have to tell you? Sit down, read more at home." The whole class laughed. Tom's face became bright red. He sat down, looked at his desk, and felt a deep pain in his throat. In that exact moment, a rule was born in his young mind. To stay safe, stay silent. If you don't speak, you cannot make mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, nobody can hurt you. 10 years passed, but that 14-year-old boy was still living inside Tom. The school was gone, the teacher was gone, but the red pen was still inside his head. Every time he wanted to speak English, he saw that red pen ready to mark him wrong. And today, the problem is even bigger. We have social media. We have Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Every day, Tom scrolled through his phone. What did he see? He saw perfect lives. He saw English teachers on TikTok who looked like supermodels. They stood in beautiful apartments, smiling and saying, "Don't say very happy. It is basic. Say ecstatic. Don't say I think. Say from my perspective. If you say basic words, your English is bad." These videos made Tom feel even worse. He thought, "Oh my God, my English is so basic. I only know words like happy, sad, good, and bad. I cannot speak like those people on social media. I am not good enough." Social media creates a fake world. It shows us the final result, but it hides the dirty, difficult process. It shows us the beautiful butterfly, but it never shows the ugly caterpillar that crawled in the mud. It shows us the fluent speaker, but it hides the years of stuttering, bad pronunciation, and embarrassing mistakes. Tom fell into this trap. He compared his internal mess with other people's external perfection. He felt that everyone else was living a grand, flawless life, while he was the only one who was struggling, the only one who was broken. He did not realize that millions of people were feeling exactly the exact same way. The world was full of silent people, all hiding from each other behind a mask of false confidence. Let us move to another day. It was a Monday morning. The office was busy. The air smelled of cheap coffee and old paper. Tom was sitting at his desk, staring at a spreadsheet. At 10 a.m., his boss, Mr. Davis, called for a sudden meeting. Mr. Davis was a serious man with a loud voice. He walked into the conference room holding a blue folder. All 12 workers sat around a long glass table. Mr. Davis opened the folder. "Listen, everyone," he said in English. "We have a new client from Europe. This is a very big opportunity for our company, but they want to work with someone who can handle communication. I need someone to give a short presentation next week about our data system. Who wants to take this project?" The room became very quiet. Tom looked at the blue folder. His heart started its familiar dance. He knew the data system perfectly. He was the one who created the Excel sheets. He understood the numbers better than anyone in the room. He could write the presentation in English easily. He knew all the words. If he took this project, his life could change. He could get a promotion. He could double his salary. He could finally leave his small room with the view of the gray wall. His hand started to move. He wanted to raise it. But then, the red pen in his mind woke up. The ghost of his school teacher whispered, "What are you doing, Tom? Your voice will tremble. You will use the wrong tense. You will say he do instead of he does. Mr. Davis will see your incompetence. Everyone will see you fail. Stay down." Tom paused. His hand froze. In that moment of silence, another worker raised her hand. Her name was Sarah. Sarah was 23. She was new in the office. She was not a data expert. In fact, Tom often had to correct her mistakes in the sheets. Her English was not perfect either. Tom had heard her speak before. She had a very heavy accent. She used simple words, and she often forgot vocabulary. "I can try, Mr. Davis," Sarah said with a smile. Her voice was not nervous. It was relaxed. Mr. Davis smiled back. "Excellent, Sarah. Thank you for your courage. The project is yours. Come to my office later for details." Tom looked down at his lap. He felt a deep, cold sickness in his stomach. It was the sickness of self-betrayal. He knew he was better qualified. He knew he had the knowledge, but Sarah had something more important than knowledge. She had the willingness to be imperfect. She had the courage to try with her broken English, while Tom stayed safe in his silent prison. Tom realized that perfection was not a shield, it was a pair of handcuffs. The next Saturday, Tom could not stay in his apartment. The walls felt too close. The air felt too thin. He felt like he was suffocating. He needed to get away from the city, away from the office, away from his books, and away from his own mind. He walked to the bus station. He bought a ticket to a large natural park located 1 hour outside the city. He did not have a plan. He just wanted to walk. When he arrived, the park was beautiful. The sky was gray and cloudy, but the air was fresh and smelled of wet earth and pine trees. There were no concrete walls here. There were no computer screens. Tom walked along a narrow dirt path. He walked past high green bushes. He walked deeper and deeper into the woods. As he walked, his mind was spinning. He kept thinking about the meeting on Monday. He kept seeing Sarah's face when she raised her hand. He felt an intense anger toward himself. "Why am I so weak?" he whispered aloud to the trees. "Why can't I just be normal? Why does fear control my life?" He felt tired. His legs were heavy, and his spirit was broken. He wanted to find a place to sit down and rest. After walking for 3 miles, he came to a small clearing. In the middle of the clearing, there was a simple wooden bench. And behind the bench stood an old, giant tree. Tom stopped. He stared at the tree. It was the strangest tree he had ever seen. The tree was not like the trees you see in beautiful landscape paintings. It was not symmetrical. It was not perfect. It was a giant oak tree, but it looked like it had fought a war. The main trunk was thick, but it was twisted and bent to one side. On its left side, there was a huge, black scar in the bark, a dark, deep hollow where the wood was burnt. It was clear that many years ago, a terrible bolt of lightning had struck this tree. The strike must have been violent. It had ripped away half of the tree's crowning glory. One of its largest primary branches was snapped completely in half, leaving a jagged, dead stump pointing toward the sky like a broken bone. Tom walked closer. He touched the bark. It was rough, uneven, and full of deep lines. The tree looked ancient, beaten, and scarred by life. But as Tom looked up, he saw something incredible. The tree was not dead. Far from it. From the edges of that black, burnt lightning scar, new, young branches were growing. They were thin, but they were strong. And on those new branches there were thousands of tiny, bright green leaves. The leaves were dancing gently in the wind. A small brown bird flew down and landed on the jagged, broken stump. It opened its beak and began to sing a beautiful, clear song. The tree was completely imperfect. It was broken, it was scarred, but it was magnificent. It was standing tall, holding its head high against the gray sky, full of life and energy. It did not try to hide its scars, it wore them openly. Tom sat down on the wooden bench under the tree. He looked up through the branches. For the first time in days, his mind became quiet. The silence of the forest wrapped around him like a warm blanket. "It is a survivor, isn't it?" A voice spoke quietly beside him. Tom jumped slightly. He had been so lost in his thoughts that he had not noticed an old man sitting on the far end of the long bench. The old man was small. He wore an old green coat and a brown flat cap. His face was a map of wrinkles, but his eyes were bright, clear, and kind. He was holding a wooden walking stick between his hands, leaning forward. Tom cleared his throat. "Oh, yes, it looks very old." The old man nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the twisted trunk. "It is 85 years old, to be exact. I have lived near this park my whole life. I remember when the great storm came 20 years ago. It was a dark night. The wind was screaming. A massive lightning bolt hit this exact tree. The sound was like a bomb exploding. The next day I came here. The ground was covered in black ash. The main branch was burning. I thought, that is the end of the old oak. It is finished." The old man paused, a gentle smile appearing on his wrinkled face. But the oak did not agree. It did not die. It took the pain, it took the scar, and it kept doing what a tree does. It kept growing. Look at it now. The birds don't care that the branch is broken. They love it because it provides shelter. The shade it gives is still cool and deep. It is not perfect, young man, but it is alive, and it is strong. Tom listened intensely. Every word from the old man felt like a heavy stone dropping into the deep water of his soul. He looked at the jagged stump, then down at his own hands. "I think," Tom said softly, his voice barely a whisper, "I think I am afraid of being broken. I am afraid of making mistakes. I want everything to be perfect before I try." The old man laughed a rich, warm laugh. It was not a mean laugh. It was the laugh of an old friend who understands the secrets of life. "Ah, perfection," the old man said, shaking his head. "The grandest illusion of youth. Tell me, young man, have you ever seen a perfect thing in nature? Look around you. Are the clouds perfect squares? Are the rivers straight lines? Are the mountains smooth pyramids? No. Nature is full of twists, rough edges, and unpredictable paths. Yet, it is perfect in its imperfection. A tree that tries to be perfectly stiff and unyielding during a storm does not survive. It snaps. The tree that survives is the one that is flexible, the one that allows itself to bend, to lose a branch, and to keep growing anyway." The old man stood up slowly, using his walking stick for support. He patted Tom on the shoulder. "Don't wait for the storm to pass to be perfect. Be like the oak. Accept your broken branches, accept your mistakes, and keep growing. Nature does not stop its life because it isn't flawless. Why should you?" The old man walked away down the dirt path, his footsteps disappearing into the sound of the wind. Tom stayed on the bench for a long time. He watched the small birds sing on the broken branch. Something inside his mind began to crack. The heavy wall of his silent prison was showing its first fracture. Tom returned to his small apartment late that evening. The sun was setting, casting a warm orange light through his window onto the gray brick wall. He walked to his table. He looked at his big English textbook. Usually, when he looked at the book, he felt a weight of obligation. He felt he had to conquer it, to master it, to become flawless. But tonight, his perspective had shifted. He opened his black notebook. He did not write down a new grammar rule. He did not memorize a list of advanced vocabulary. Instead, he took his blue pen and wrote one simple sentence in big letters across a clean page. My English is allowed to be imperfect. My life is allowed to start now. He looked at the sentence. It felt like a deep breath after being underwater for a long time. He realized that his strategy for the last 10 years had been completely wrong. He had been trying to build a perfect house inside his mind before opening the door to anyone. But a language is not a house you build in secret. A language is a bridge you build with other people. And a bridge does not need to be made of gold. It just needs to hold your weight so you can cross over. He closed the notebook. He felt a strange new sensation. It was not the sudden explosion of absolute confidence that you see in movies. It was something more quiet, more real. It was courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the realization that something else is more important than fear. His dream of a bigger life was finally more important than his fear of looking silly. The next Monday arrived. The office atmosphere was the same as always. The smell of coffee, the sound of keyboards clicking, the low hum of voices. But Tom was different. He walked with a different rhythm. At 2 p.m., Mr. Davis called a team meeting to review the initial outline for the new European project. Sarah was sitting at the table, looking a bit stressed. She had a folder open in front of her. "All right, team," Mr. Davis said, leaning back in his chair. "Sarah has shown me the basic plan, but we have a small issue. The European client wants to know how we protect their user data during the migration process. Sarah is still working on this part. Does anyone have an immediate suggestion on how we should explain our security protocol to them? We need to send an email summary by tonight." The room fell into its typical silence. People looked down at their notebooks, trying to avoid eye contact with the boss. Tom felt the familiar wave of panic rise in his chest. His heart started to beat fast. His mind screamed, "Don't speak. Your accent is too thick. You will mess up the tenses. Sarah is handling it. Let her do it." But Tom didn't listen to the panic. He looked at the wall, and in his mind's eye, he saw the old oak tree with its bright green leaves growing from the burnt bark. He thought, "If I stay silent today, I am choosing my prison again. I refuse to live in the dark." Tom cleared his throat. He raised his hand. Mr. Davis looked up, surprised. "Yes, Tom? Do you have an idea?" Tom stood up from his chair. His knees felt weak, like jelly. His hands were shaking slightly, so he pressed them against the table to keep them still. He opened his mouth. His voice was small at first, but he pushed the words out. "Yes, Mr. Davis, I think we can explain our 3-step security system. First, we encrypt data before transit. Second, we use secure servers. Third, we have constant monitoring." He paused. His heart was hammering. He knew he had made a mistake. He had forgotten the article "the" before data, and his pronunciation of the word monitoring was rough. He had placed the stress on the wrong syllable. He felt the temptation to sit down and hide. But he kept going. He forced his mouth to speak his broken, simple English. I can write a short document for Sarah. She can use it for the client. It is simple, but it shows our security is strong." Tom finished speaking. He stood there, vulnerable, exposed. The red pen in his head was screaming, waiting for the punishment. Mr. Davis stared at him for 3 seconds. Then, a big smile broke across the boss's face. He slapped his hand on the glass table. "Brilliant, Tom. That is exactly what we need. Simple, clear, and direct. Sarah, is that helpful for you?" Sarah looked at Tom with an expression of pure relief. "Yes, thank you so much, Tom. I was really worried about that part. Let's work on it together after this meeting." Tom sat down. His face was hot, and his hands were still shaking, but the cold sickness in his stomach was gone. In its place, there was a warm, glowing fire. He had done it. He had spoken imperfect English in front of his boss and his colleagues. He had made mistakes. His grammar was not perfect. His voice was not smooth. And what happened? The world did not end. Nobody laughed. Nobody drew a red X on his face. In fact, he had helped his team. He had received praise, and he had broken the spell of his silence. He had stepped out of the prison door, and the air outside tasted sweet. After the meeting, Tom and Sarah sat together at a small desk. They opened the document. Tom began to explain his technical ideas, and Sarah listened. As they worked, Tom noticed something interesting. When Sarah spoke English, she didn't try to sound like a native speaker. She used simple words like get, make, go, and do. Sometimes she said he go instead of he goes, but she communicated her ideas clearly because she was focused on the meaning, not the rules. "Your English is very practical, Sarah," Tom said honestly during a coffee break. "I always worry about my mistakes, so I stay silent. How are you so brave?" Sarah laughed, taking a sip of her coffee. "Brave? Oh, Tom, you think I am brave? I am terrified every time I speak. My grammar is a total mess, I know that. But when I came to this city last year, I realized something. If I wait until my English is perfect, I will starve. I will never get a job. I will never make friends. I lose 100% of the opportunities I don't take because of fear. So, I made a deal with myself. I decided to accept that my English is a tool, not an art project. If the client understands my idea, I win. The mistakes don't matter." She looked at Tom with kindness. "You know more grammar than me, Tom. I see you studying your books during lunch. You have so much knowledge inside your head. But knowledge inside a closed box is useless. Open the box. Let the words out. Even if they fall on the floor and break, pick them up and try again." That conversation was a second revelation for Tom. He realized that Sarah was not a fearless superhero. She was just a regular person who had accepted her vulnerability. She had realized that communication is a collaborative game, not a competitive exam. Other people are not standing there with a red pen, waiting to grade you. They are just trying to understand you, because human beings naturally want to connect. Months passed by. The seasons changed from autumn to winter, and then to the first warm days of spring. The gray brick wall outside Tom's window was now covered in green ivy leaves. Tom's life was no longer the same. His nightly routine had undergone a massive transformation. He still sat at his wooden table at 6:30 p.m., and he still opened his notebooks. But the heavy grammar textbook was now stored away on the bottom shelf. Instead of memorizing dry rules, Tom began to practice real communication. He joined an online international conversation club. Twice a week, he logged onto his computer, turned on his camera, and spoke with people from Brazil, Japan, Turkey, and France. The first few sessions were incredibly awkward. He stuttered. He couldn't find the right words. He made silly mistakes that made his face burn. But he did not run away to his comfort zone. Whenever he felt the old fear returning, he closed his eyes and visualized the old oak tree in the park. He told himself, Let it be broken. Let it be simple. Just keep talking. And a miracle happened. The more he spoke with mistakes, the easier it became to speak. His brain stopped translating every word from his native language to English. It started to create direct connections. He discovered that when he didn't obsess over every verb tense, his speech became smoother, more natural. He didn't become a perfect native speaker in 6 months. That is a myth from social media ads. He still had an accent. He still used simple words. He still made occasional mistakes. But he was fluent. Fluency does not mean perfection. Fluency means flow. It means your thoughts can travel from your mind to another person's mind without stopping, even if the road has a few bumps. His professional life began to accelerate as well. Because he was no longer a silent ghost in the corner, his manager noticed his value. Tom began to lead small data projects. He presented his reports in English to the European clients. During one presentation, he completely forgot the English word for revenue. He stopped for a second, smiled at the screen, and said, "Sorry, my brain forgot the exact word. I mean, the money our company makes from sales." The client laughed gently and said, "Ah, revenue. No problem, Tom. We understand completely. Please continue." The meeting went on successfully. Tom realized that his vulnerability actually made him more likable. People don't trust perfect masks. People trust real human beings. His ability to handle his mistakes with a smile showed true confidence, a confidence far deeper than a flawless accent. Tom received a promotion. He became the head of the data analytics team. With his new salary, he moved out of his small one-room apartment. His new apartment had a large balcony that looked over a bustling green square with trees and fountains. He bought a comfortable new sofa, a big wooden table for guests, and he never felt lonely anymore. He had made friends from his conversation club, and they often met online to share stories and laugh together. One evening, Tom stood on his new balcony, holding a warm cup of tea. He looked down at the people walking below. He thought about the version of himself from 1 year ago, the terrified young man who ran away from a tourist in the rain. He felt a deep wave of gratitude for that old oak tree in the park, and for the old man who sat on the bench. They had saved his life by showing him the beauty of being broken. And now, my dear friend, let's bring the camera back to you. Yes, you, the person who is sitting in front of the screen, watching this video, listening to my voice. I did not write this long story just to entertain you for 20 minutes. I wrote this story because you are Tom. Look into the mirror of your soul. How many times have you been the old Tom? How many times have you stayed silent in a meeting because you were afraid your English was not good enough? How many times have you avoided talking to a foreigner, or avoided typing a comment in English online, or avoided starting that project, that business, because you felt you were not 100% ready? How many years of your life have you sacrificed to the dark god of perfection? Please, look around you at the real world. Perfection is a prison. Perfection is a lie created by advertisers to make you feel incomplete, so you buy things. It is a golden cage that keeps you safe, but keeps you dead. The most successful people in this world are not the ones who never fail. They are not the ones who speak with flawless grammar and have perfect lives. No. The most successful people are simply the ones who have the courage to be imperfect. They are the ones who are willing to look stupid, to stutter, to make mistakes, to laugh at themselves, to learn, and to keep going. They are like the old oak tree. They don't stop growing because they have a few broken branches. Your broken English is not a sign of weakness. It is a badge of honor. It means you are trying to learn a completely new system of communication. It means you have the ambition to expand your world beyond your borders. A mistake is not a crime. A mistake is a milestone. It is a signpost that says, you are practicing, you are out of your comfort zone, you are alive. Every time you open your mouth and speak a broken sentence, you are drawing a line through that red pen in your head. You are breaking a brick in the wall of your silent prison. Stop waiting for a perfect day. Stop waiting for the fear to completely disappear. The fear will never go away if you stay silent. Confidence does not precede action. Confidence follows action. You must step into the water before you learn how to swim. You must speak broken English before you can speak beautiful English. So, let us start today. Let us start right here, right now, in this exact moment. I want you to go down to the comment section of this video. Do not close this video. Do not scroll away. Go to the comments and write something in English. Do not worry about your grammar. Do not check your dictionary for 20 minutes. If you make a mistake, let it be. Write a simple sentence. Tell me your name. Tell me which city you are watching from. Tell me one dream you have for your life, or just write 5 words. I am ready to try. Let this comment section be your sanctuary. Let it be the park with the old oak tree. Nobody will laugh at you here. We are a family of imperfect learners, all walking the same path, all helping each other lift the weights of our fears. If this long story touched your heart, if it woke up that small spark of courage inside your chest, then do not let that spark die out. Protect it. Nourish it. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me today. Go out into the world, open your mouth, make beautiful mistakes, and live your magnificent, imperfect life. And always remember our sacred rule: progress, not perfection. I will see you in our next story. Goodbye for now, my friend.